What's good, fam? Welcome back to Unlockable Character. I'm gonna see if I can get away with a little bit of music in the beginning and have you guys guess the song. That's one of my favorite artists. I'll give you a hint. He is not from Georgia. Probably the artist with one of the craziest journeys in life that you'll probably ever hear about. So you gotta make sure you have visibility on turns like that, guys, like turn onto a main road. Sometimes when you come right to the end of the turn, you'll be blocked by maybe a telephone pole, a power pole. You really have to think through all of those things before you come to a stop, and when you're doing a bunch of stuff, you might not be able to think about that. And I think that's generally what happens to people when they get into like a fender bender at an intersection, because their view is blocked, you know what I mean? Right now, Petite Le Mans is going on at Road Atlanta. Love that. Awesome racing event, different series. If you can get a chance to, I would recommend walking the grid, linking up with a car brand. Like I've linked up with Acura, BMW, Porsche, and hanging out with, you know, enthusiasts who share your same passions, but also you might have to pay a little bit more, you know, for like a VIP ticket. But walking the grid is a really amazing experience. You get to go up and literally stick your head in the race cars, which is unreal. They're all parked pretty much on the grid. And in October, I think we get some of the best weather in Atlanta and Georgia. So it's usually beautiful. It's like this, 60, 70 degrees, a little bit windy. And we have some really beautiful, although during the daytime, I think it's like polluted, a little shady and hazy. But the nights are just insane in October because you'll get an orange and purple sunset. And the nights are pretty clear, even if the days can be pretty hazy recently. So we are driving in four-wheel drive. This is the default car settings, basically comfort settings for everything. This is before you get in and adjust anything. This is like when you start up your car, this is what it's like. Now on Bimmer Code, which is an app you can download for your phone, you can customize the startup to also include a sport mode on startup. And that's really for your engine. I'm not sure how much else you can customize it. I'll have to ask if there's a tuning solution that actually saves all of your settings onto the car. That would be really cool, so that when you start the car, you don't need to go in and like press M1, M2. Previously, what I remember is on my iDrive 7 car, it was 2021, M1 and M2 for me were rear-wheel drive. M1 was my full traction and stability control off. M2 for me was my comfort settings, because that 2021 M4 was only rear-wheel drive, so it was basically rear-wheel drive all the time. So that car, I did have the ability to put it in track mode, which I think comes with one of the M packages that you can get, which I highly recommend. And track mode in iDrive 7 could be linked to M2 or M1. And now in iDrive 8 and iDrive 8.5, track mode is separate from them. But I believe there's a module that helps people actually, you know, get the track mode automatically selected when you go into M1 or M2. the weather we're getting right now, there's not a cloud in the sky. It's pretty awesome. I'm excited to see tonight's views. I'm telling you guys, I gotta get to the drag strip. I don't mind running these street tires on a stock tune, you know, it's the transmission is tuned. We have the mid pipes, the single mid pipe, we have the down pipes, the intakes, a height adjustable suspension kit. When I would go on the drag race, when I would do the quarter mile, what I recommend if you're doing like a street tire is to oh, there's a BMW coming up behind us. That's funny. I'm gonna let him do his thing and get over it. What I would recommend is getting your tire pressures down to like 25 to 27 psi and doing a burnout before you go and actually go down the strip. Getting the tires hot is like the #1 thing. Keeping the car cool is also pretty important. People in the staging lanes, now it's not the summertime, but in the summertime people will bring ice and put it over their intercoolers in their engine to keep it cool. And when you're in the staging lanes and there's a lot of people, you know, you could be stuck basically before you go out on the drag strip. You're in a staging lane for each lane, and then they converge, and then there's only 2 lanes, right, for left and right on the drag strip. You could be in those lanes for a while, but you know, right now in October, if you go down to like Silver Dollar, which is in Reynolds, Georgia, it's about 100 miles away. I don't think you'd be waiting in line for a long time if you got there early on a Friday for a test and tune. And so I'd really like to do that with this car and just put down a 10-second quarter mile with the Xdrive system, with the car being stock, you know, before we get the car tuned. And then we can go back down after the car is tuned and see just how much time we can shave off, which would be pretty cool. Alright, let's open the valves. I'll put it in rear wheel drive mode for now. Turn off the burble. Okay, 6th to 5th. 4th, feeling pretty good. 3rd. Tons of grip. You have to drive it with confidence, you know, guys. If you're gonna put these settings on, you have to have some time in the car before you adjust everything to these settings. You have to know what you're doing. I was just with someone I met the other day, and he has a F80 M3. He just got tuned, and he had the car for 2 years, never modified it, and then he got exhaust tune at the same time, right, for his birthday. And so, you know, the guy is going from, you know, daily driving, commuting, keeping traction on, to gaining like 100, 200 horsepower and learning how to, you know, go through the different modes of the car. That's amazing. Like that's real joy and wonder in getting to know a car that way and knowing that it has so much potential and you can get more out of it. It's also about how you like drive, you know, like your learning style. Personally, for me, driving defensively and focused but driven and no hesitation is all important. 2 steps ahead. Avoiding drivers who themselves are distracted or going below the speed limit or impeding traffic. Avoiding that can prevent your own stress, prevent situations that are honestly more dangerous because no one is thinking, so no one is taking charge. And when that kind of stuff happens and it builds up, you know, it's a real problem over time. I used to live up here, and getting to the airport, guys, was a nightmare because you wouldn't know if you could get there in 35 minutes or it would be like an hour 15 minutes. So, you know, knowing when to leave would always be a tricky situation, because the airport is south of Atlanta. It's like another 15 minutes south of the city. That's why when you live in the city, the airport is so nice. It's amazing. It's pretty much a 15 to 30 minute trip all the time. What a wicked car. This car is quite something, huh, guys? I think next level would be, you know, this kind of engine with a PDK that's tuned, and like a racing PDK from a GT3 RS, unbelievable. If it could hold this like at 600 to 700 wheel, 600 to 650 torque, that would be just outrageous. But the ZF, you gotta give it the respect it deserves. It's such an incredible transmission. And you gotta use it. If you're not using the transmission and enjoying it, like who am I keeping this car for? You know, I'm not keeping the car for anyone. Building a transmission is not as bad as building an engine, I'll tell you that. Although you of course have to be specialized in doing that. Take no respect away from people who build transmissions for a living, because that's some black box stuff, I feel like. But you can get a replacement transmission on the ZF8 and have it built by a company to hold more power if it fails. And you know, you're not looking at like a total $35,000 engine. You're looking at, with, you know, the build and labor, you're looking at like a $10,000 to $14,000, you know, transmission overhaul, rehaul. And I honestly think the ZF8 stock power level, you know, no tune on the ECU for more boost, you could easily last 100,000 miles if you change the fluid at like 60,000, you know? What people don't realize is when you pick up a car off lease that's certified pre-owned, and you realize that it's been someone who may have never even driven it in manual, there's two things you need to do. You need to be able to go and test drive it in manual, just bring it through its paces, so that you can determine, like, okay, is the car ready to go through its paces? But because it hasn't been put through its paces, you have a bit more in terms of, you know, just life out of the components, the brakes, the transmission. I think a lot of these were sold as commuter luxury cars, and if you can find an older buyer who never really, you know, put it in manual and like ripped it, I mean, honestly, even if you did, it'd be good, because that car you probably could depend on, but you would still get more usage out of, obviously, a transmission that had only been driven in automatic its whole life for like 30,000 miles. Stuff's some fun. We're in all-wheel drive. that mower. What a car. I did have one bad experience in my Stinger with cars on a bike, or bikes on a car. Could you imagine cars on a bike, bikes on a car? So I'm keeping a little bit of distance here. is, guys. Simple as turning off the valves, hitting M2 or M2 twice to quiet the car down into comfort, and then hitting the exhaust button, which turns off the valves. They're really doing a lot of construction here. A little bit further up on 400, they had the left lane closed for a while, and they still have the left lane closed, and now that we have the right lane closed as well. This elevation too, all of this kind of rolling undulation was not there before. So there's almost a point here where you can bounce if you're not ready and you're going too fast. You gotta watch out for that. Tropical smoothie again, guys. Two BMWs down, bro. Maybe one's helping the other though. Yesterday, guys, something crazy happened, and I had to go to fucking urgent care. Never expected it. Personally, I'll tell you, everyone right now, I love dogs, so I have no hard feelings about dogs. I understand they're animals. I got bit by a cane corso, guys, on my wrist. Took a good amount of flesh off, but he just bit and released, and it was just very strange. There was no telling, you know what I mean? And you never know with dogs, so I don't really hold a grudge against it, but we did our best to clean it up and bandage it, you know, really clean it up. But then, you know, dog bites, because their mouths have so much bacteria, they can get infected. So everyone recommended going to the urgent care, and I waited 2 hours to see if the wound would close. It didn't close up. It was kind of like a gaping wound. So we went to urgent care, and I got a bunch of shots, and they sewed it up, stitched it up. And then I got the vaccine records, which were good. Thank God the dog had a rabies vaccine, because you can't cure rabies. You have to, after you get stitched up, they normally don't even stitch up a dog bite, guys, but it was leaking pretty bad. They don't stitch it up completely. They still let it breathe a little bit. But, you know, luckily I didn't have to get a rabies shot from there, because I would have had to go out to like an emergency care afterwards to do that. And what I realized is, around Atlanta, like more than 50 miles around Atlanta, you can't find a late night urgent care service other than one that's downtown, and it doesn't take insurance. And get this, it's $128 to see them after like 6 or 7 p.m. just to walk in the door. And then the charges were pretty crazy. Over $1,400 of just, it's crazy, because they know they got you, you know what I mean? But the owner was cool, he covered everything. And so, you know, again, I don't have any qualms about it. And I realized, I looked up their biting ability. They have a bite that can go above, I swear, hundreds and hundreds of pounds per square inch on your hand. Like, if it wanted to, it could have taken off my hand, but it just came up and just like did a chomp and let go. It was kind of funny, and I played it off, you know. That's the best thing you can do, and I think my friend will remember that. It's honestly my friend's dog, so it's not even like a big deal for me, you know what I mean? I don't think you should, he has more to think about than I do. I'm good, you know. We laughed it off, we cleaned it up there, and we got it all sorted out. And I told him he has nothing to worry about, because I get tested too, which was pretty funny. We laughed about that. Oh, the burbles are back on. So today, instead of taking the access road, we're going to be crossing over to 85 North. We're coming down 400 South right now. Turned off there. Let's see if it's still going. Hopefully it is. If not, I'll turn it back on once we get there if it turns off again, guys. You never know. I had the windows up, so that's sometimes the battery goes when that happens, overheats. Seems to be hanging on so far. It's not turning off. Ooh, you can really hear the burble, guys. Look at that view. That's pretty sick. You can see the city on that side. theater, as the British say, underneath here. Oh. Move! Are you fucking kidding? You want to test me right now? What are you doing? Retards. People see the turn signal and they still drive into you. It's crazy, guys. Got Taco Bell under construction. Looks like it might be open actually. Drive-through is open, guys, for all you craving Taco Bell. I'm telling you, there should be a crackdown on a lot of the, I would say, I'm not trying to be racist, but it would be a truthful statement to say a lot of the Hispanic immigrants don't have insurance, they're not very good drivers, and it's just, it would be safer without them being on the road, to be honest. And you have a lot of that in these areas. Not only that, a lot of the work trucks, they would not pass the same rigor of inspection as a modern car that most other people would be driving. And I'm not just saying that for Hispanic guys, I'm saying that for any dude, white, black, Asian, that drives a work truck that is not being maintained properly. But then at the same time, it's about how well you care, you know, and do your job and like strap things down. Because a lot of the debris also on the road is from just work trucks hastily put back together without care. Vans too, with the ladders. A lot of debris on those vans that have like 12 ladders for some reason, stacked all up on there. say. Cap it here, guys, for now.